Okay, good afternoon, students. Today I am going to teach you one of the chapters from the book Flamingo, My Mother at 66. Now, I've already completed this chapter with the CBSE students as well as the council science students. Okay, but as far as I can see that most of you are, though most of you are joining, few of you are not joining the online classes. I mean the Zoom classes that I'm regularly taking. I don't know the reason behind it, but I want you all, I literally want you all to join the Zoom classes, because otherwise it is not very easy for both of us to actually understand this this we cannot both of us understand actually this poems that are in your syllabus. For that I read this face to face class with you, which is not possible unless you join the Zoom meeting classes. Okay, but still I'm going to explain this to you through this video of mine. Okay, so let's start with this chapter, My Mother at 66, about the poet Kamala Das. Now, Kamala Das was born in Malabar, Kerala. She is recognized as one of India's foremost poets. Her works are known for their originality, versatility, and indigenous flavor of the soil. Kamala Das has published many novels and short stories in English and Malayalam under the name Madhavi Kutti. Okay, so as far as you can see that the poet of this piece of poetry is Kamala Das. She was born in Malabar and Kerala. She is recognized as one of the most India's most foremost poets. Okay, her works are known for her originality and versatility and the indigenous flavor of the soil. Now, this woman, this poetess, she used to write about people who were around her. She used to write about places, people. She used to write about things that she can see around her, that she can see around her place, her area where she was born, where she was lived. Her every story, short stories, novels, poetry, everything were about the people who were living in Kerala and who were working in there. And her this was one of her typical form of, or you can see her typical part of expertise. Okay, and she was an expert in that. And mainly she had published, you can see, mainly she had wrote most of her poetries and poems and novels and short stories in English and Malayalam language, and she bared the pen name of Madhavi Kutti. Now this is very important, mainly for the council students. You can have this 1 marks questions from this poet, this biography of the poet, where you can be asked the pen name of Kamala Das. What is her pen name? Her pen name is Madhavi Kutti. Okay, please note it down. Okay, some of her works in English include the novel Alphabet of Lust, a collection of short stories, Padmavati the Harlot, and other stories. In addition to 5 books of poetry, she is a sensitive writer who captures the complex subtleties of human relationship in lyrical idiom. My Mother 66 is an example. Okay, now as I already told you earlier that Kamala Das, her expertise of writing was that she used to write about people who were around her. Okay, who were born at that soil where she was born. She used to live about, she was to write about her native people, how their life was all about, and everything about them. Okay, and also she is an expert in writing about the subtleties of human relationship. She could capture, like it's a form of poetry is always been considered as photography. Okay, like the poet bears a photograph or a photo or a picture of the place or a thing or any object that inspires her to write any poem. Okay, so for Kamala Das, the complex natures or the complex subtleties of human relationship is something that enticed her. Okay, and then what she did, she captured them, and she captured them gracefully, and then she wrote it down beautifully in her lyrical idioms. My Mother is 66 is also an example, and other than My Mother is 66, she had written numerous short stories, her collections of novels, and other stories that you can find they are being mentioned in her biography. Okay, now before we start reading, as I want to say you that this poetry, My Mother at 66, this poem My Mother at 66 is all about, My Mother at 66 is all about a human, not only about human relationship. Now human relationship is a natural process. Okay, as you can find in this poetry that human relationship is not the only topic that the poet talks about here. The poet also talks about the natural process of aging. Now, natural process of aging, and have you ever thought what now if you see this line that aging is a natural process, have you ever thought what our elderly parents expect from us? Okay, now with aging comes what? With aging comes death. Now death and aging comes hand to hand, and aging is a natural process. This is something that we cannot stop. Okay, the council students, if you remember that I had already told you in the poem the Ozymandias of Egypt, that is in your syllabus in alternative English, you will Shelley told Shelley told the readers that time is the overwhelming time is the most what can I say? Time is the biggest form of the biggest force or the biggest power that exists in this world. Okay, and time is going to take over everything. We human think that we are the all powerful, we are the megalomaniacs, we are the omnipotents, but it is not. Time is something. Time is that force that drives everything around in this world, and time is something that is going to naturally make the process of aging, and then naturally death will follows in its course. Okay, so let's start. Now, if you see, if you look into the pattern of this poem, you can find that this poem does not follow any proper form of rhyming. Okay, it's written with different forms of different punctuations in between, and written in continuous sentences. Actually, this is a story, a small piece of incident, or a story or a narration that is being told by the poetess, narrating an incident that she felt that she had encountered along with her mother while she was returning from her parents' home to Cochin. Okay, she was staying at Cochin, and then she had visited her parents' home. We have already discussed that she was born in Kerala, in Malabar, and Cochin is the capital of Kerala. She was returning to Cochin from Malabar, and she was going to take a flight. She was being accompanied by her mother, who was seated at the next seat of her in a car, and both of them were driving towards the airport from where the poetess was supposed to take a flight to Cochin. Now, the what happens when the poetess looks at her mother who was sitting next to her in the car? Okay, we will read it. Driving from my parents' home to Cochin last Friday morning, I saw my mother beside me, doors open mouthed, her face ashen like that of a corpse. Please underline, see the portion that I've already underlined in this. You can see this page. Her face is ashen like that of a corpse. Underline this and write simile. This literary device used in here is a simile, and realized with pain that she was as old as she looked, but soon put that thought away and looked at young children, young trees springing, the merry children spilling out of their homes. Okay, so as I already told you that the poet was there visiting her parents at a parental home in Malabar. She was returning back to Cochin when she was staying over there, and she was about to board a flight. She was being accompanied by her mother, who was seated next to her in the car, and as soon as she looked at her mother, she was shocked. She was surprised to see that her mother's face was old and full ashen. Okay, if you have aging parents at home, aging grandparents at home, you can see very well how this older people, their face tends to become paler as soon as they get old. Okay, the reason is that because our faces are all covered, I mean underneath the skin we have these blood vessels. Okay, now as we grow older, these blood vessels, they tend to dry up. Okay, they tend to dry up, and our skin starts becoming translucent. So as soon as the sun rays falls on skin, the skin looks gray and ashen like. Okay, and her face, mother's face, looked like that of a dead body. Now if you have ever seen, I mean ever get a chance to see a dead body which is like a few days old, you can find how their face looks like very dried up, very I mean you can see it feels like it's a very what can I say, sickening and very pale. It's all drained out of color, and it's black spotted and everything. So this is what is there. And the same pattern you can see if you have very aged old grandparents at home. You can see that the face also bears the same kind of patches and these black spots over their skin that are same like that of a dead body. And here also the mentioning of the corpse is for the reason of depicting the term death. As I already told you earlier, that aging is a natural process, and with aging follows death hand in hand. Okay, so her face was like that of an ash, and it was formed and it was like that of a corpse. And then the poetess was stung with that pain, the stung with the pain. Now definitely the mother daughter relationship is being evoked over here. Okay, the mother daughter relationship, the love, the affection, the bonding that is shared between a mother and a daughter, especially between a mother and a child, is being evoked over here. Okay, and it is being said that as soon as the poetess looked at her mother, and her face was full ashen and corpse like, and then she was overwhelmed with the fear that her mother is becoming very old and soon she is going to die. Now, like for any of us, like any of us children, it is very devastating for us to feel that our parents are not at all present in there. Maybe we can stay away from them, maybe we are staying in another city, another state, another country, due to our work, due to our studies, anything, but once a day, twice a day, we call up our parents, we talk to them, and this is a natural thing. Even we are in trouble, we tend to look forwards toward them. Okay, this is our obvious their obvious nature. But the thing is that if this feeling comes in, if this feeling seeps in, that very soon our parent is going to die, now this is a devastating feeling for any child, whether he is a child or any human being, whether it is a child or a grown up. So this feeling is being evoked into the poetess mind as soon as she looked at her mother's face. And then, to focus away from that thought, what she did, she looked outside the window, and then she saw these young children who were spilling out of their home, and the trees were sprinting, and they were making merry. Now see, you can see over here there is a contrast that is deliberately brought in this poem. The contrast between the aging ashen face, corpse like mother who is at the age of 66 and who is near to her death, and that of the young children who are spilling out of their home. They are enigmatic, they are full of energy, they are driving, they are driven by the force of life, and they are making merry, they are sprinting, they're playing, they're all they're also engulfed with life. Okay, and then they both of them, and as we can see in the poem, that her feelings are being taken away after she saw this young children playing and making merry. And then as soon as they reached the airport, and then at the security check, standing a few yards away, I looked again at her, wan pale as a late winter's moon, and felt that old familiar ache. Now, as you have all gone to the airport, you see that if you need to board the plane, you need to stand at the security check, and you can only stand at the security check if you have the boarding pass. If you do not have the boarding pass, you won't be able to stand in the queue for the security check. Now, we have already discussed earlier that only the poetess was returning back to Cochin. Her mother had just accompanied her to see her off while she board aboard the plane. Okay, so her mother was standing outside the airport, and the poetess was standing in the queue of the security check, and where she looked back from that security check post, this check queue, and she looked at her mother, and again she saw that her mother's face was full pale as a late winter's moon. Now here winter is being deliberately brought in into this poem to depict death, as I've already discussed earlier in my Zoom class and also in earlier poetry. And if you are a council student, you are going to find it in your poem in alternative English, that the how the climate or the season winter uh, actually depicts death in poetry. Okay, they are both of them correlated, or both of them are being related with each other very well through various forms of poetry. That is why the poetess over here deliberately brings in the term winter's moon, because we have already seen earlier that her mother's face was all pale and corpse like, and she was like that of a dead body. Her face was like that of a dead body, and this winter's moon is deliberately brought in to depict that her mother is aging, she is going to die very soon, and winter denotes death. And then as she looked at her mother, she felt that familiar ache, my childhood's fear. But all I said was, "See you soon, Amma." All I did was smile and smile and smile. Now, what did she did? As she looked at her mother, her face was all pale and colorless, and she looked like that of a late winter's moon. And then that again, that pain that she was feeling and that she was feeling right sitting right in the car again hits her back when she sees her mother like that standing there in the queue. From there she saw her mother, and then that familiar ache that she her mother is going to die very soon. Now this is quite devastating for any child to think that her mother's that her now it is a childhood fear. Now definitely, if you remember being a child, you could not find your mother's face, you could not see your mother's face standing in the line when you were a child, mainly your nursery and kg classes. You, after the school was over, you used to stand near the gate and you could not see your mother's face. Now you started crying. Now this is normal for every child. I also did, you also did, and even our parents when they were children they also did. Now this is something that is usual. Okay, something, this is universal truth. Now thinking that our mother or father is not there is a devastating fact for any of us to realize. Okay, so that familiar ache seeps in, and her childhood fear that her mother is going to die very soon, or she is going to lose her mother, this is what makes her anxious. But as a responsible child, what she did is she did not want her mother to get anxious seeing her anxiety, and she did only the smile and said that, Amma, I'll see you soon, don't worry, I'll be there, I'll spend some time with you, and I'll come back again. And all she did was smile and smile and smile. Okay, so here the poem ends. I hope I can make you understand. This video have already become very big. If you have any doubts, then please message me, please talk to me, and please join the Zoom classes. Otherwise it is very difficult for me to make you understand these poetries. Okay, I am already running the same poetry for 2 to 3 consecutive Zoom classes for you people to make you understand. But if you do not join in at all, then it is very difficult for me to make you understand. Okay, thank you so much guys. Bye.